The Underground, Ideas into Action presents an Underground Chat, where we bring the underground conversation to you. Today's chat, Credit Unions Unite Against Racism.
Renee, it's great to see you. I love seeing you. Thank you so much for being here to celebrate our year end with the Underground. What a year 2020 has been. Oh my goodness. And so what you and I had chatted about was the idea that this year started off with a real, crazy bang. We were all positive and so much happening in DC and your connection with us at the Underground. And then within a few months, the world fell apart on many levels, health and so on. And so I love the story that you shared that we actually had connected back at the foundation's dinner. And so I don't know if you would share that with us. I thought it was wonderful how sometimes connections can happen even before we have an opportunity to work together.
Well, I was just thrilled to finally meet you because I was fanning out, as the young kids say, about Susan Mitchell, because when you won the Herb Wagner Award, I think 2 years ago, I was at that dinner, courtesy of CUNY Mutual Group, who's a fabulous partner for ACUC. And so I was sitting there and I was listening to how fabulous everything was. And I kept saying to myself, I'm going to meet that lady. I got to meet her. I got to meet her. And so when I finally did, you were just so gracious and so out. Just everything that they had said about you in your video testimony was just phenomenal, just the same. And so I count it as a privilege that you've taken me under your wing, that you've given me advice, that you've supported ACUC and me, and that you've done some incredible background work to help push our initiative forward. Just the doors that you've opened for me, and being in the Underground Railroad, listen to me, the Underground Conference was phenomenal because that changed my life. When I was speaking for my little 10 minutes, and when I said that, because my section was about belonging, and when I said, when I'm in Africa, I'm a woman, and when I'm in the United States, I'm a Black woman, that just like resonated with me and opened up something that was just really, really great. So this journey has been mind-opening, mind-blowing, soul-wrenching, because of so much that has happened. But kudos to you in being such an ally and such a supporter. Everything that you guys touch shows that you're into making sure that there's economic equity, that there's diversity, that people are understood. So thank you for that, truly.
Well, you're really welcome, and I thank you for the appreciation. But I just want to say to you that when doors open, we have to step through, and the messaging that we were talking about there of love and belonging, and what it takes to be part of something, is such a bigger message. And then very quickly, we started saying, oh my goodness, we all feel alone. We were all sheltered. We were all told to go home. We weren't able to see our family members. And obviously we're going through another surge now. So it became such in a way, a call for me to make sure that the messaging is still getting out, that we're still talking, and that we're communicating. And I remember during that period too, I'll share a quick story with you. We went through that question: does the Underground Collision have to be in person because of the kind of vulnerability that we express to each other? And there was a lot of feeling about that lasted about a day. And then I said, it's got to keep going. And so to the extent that people want to be vulnerable, will be up to them. But the conversations have to keep going, especially now. We have to push forward. And then obviously, we had not only the pandemic, but then we had the murder of George Floyd. And this event-driven response became so critical. So here we are together talking about love and belonging. And then very quickly after that, in June, we found ourselves in a position where racism was so much a part of our lives. It was in our face. And so tell me about how that, transitioned for you. We're going to talk about what took place then a little bit, and then we're going to talk about how we have turned that into something that will bring light to people. So how did that hit you at that point, Renee?
So for me, the murder of George Floyd just was devastating. And for me as an African American woman, I was devastated. For me as a human being, I was just gut wrenched. And for me as the president of ACUC, I was, what am I going to do for our membership? Because we've got to wrap our arms around them. We need to make sure that they understand that they're not alone in their anger. They're not alone in their frustration. They're not alone in their sadness and depression. And so what happened was we figured out that we were suffering on so many different levels. And we wanted to respond. We felt like if we didn't say anything, because oftentimes these things continue to happen, you don't say anything. Well, it was to the point where that was just absolutely ridiculous that could happen in that manner and so callously. And I think that's what it was. It was such a physical depiction of what the suffering has been. And so because of that, we felt at ACUC that we had to do something. And my number two at the time, she's my chief strategy officer now, but Michelle Outlaw, she called me. We normally get together about 8:20 in the morning. I'm a morning person and she's a night person. And so it kind of works out as far as having things on my desk. But she got up so early in the morning, like 6:30, she called me and I was already up. And she goes, we've got to do something. I'm like, I agree. I was waiting to call you. And so what we decided to do was we decided to have a conversation, invite some men who had sons of all different ages and invite the membership to a closed conversation so that we could really help just let them have a way to get it out, just to talk about how upset you are or how frustrated, whatever that is. And we did that. And it was so satisfying, hurtful to hear everything, but satisfying in that it gave our membership a voice. We weren't complicit because we addressed it. And the conversations were authentic and real. I remember seeing Jim Nussle on the call, and I just thought that it was great, one, that he was there, certainly as the leader of the largest trade organization, Credit Union Land. And I could see when his aha moment happened. And we happened to invite a young man whose name is Jamar Jemison, who works at CUNA. He's a video manager there. He does a tremendous job, and he's part of ACC. Well, he has a son. So when he was, he's in his 30s. When he was talking about the talk that Black people give their children, and that he had to give that to his own son, he remembered when his parents gave it to him. And Jim being so just having so much empathy, you could tell on his face that, oh my God, one of my employees is suffering like this. And so that was widespread throughout the conversation. And so from that, the women said, well, what about us? We're mothers. And so the next conversation was mothers, and then the next conversation was somebody else, and the next conversation was somebody else. But so much has happened that people have rallied around what we now say is the commitment to change, Credit Unions Unite Against Racism. So that's how that started, and the conversations continue to happen.
Well, from an ally's perspective, the idea that we had gone quiet without realizing it, okay, on what's taking place. And I think that was eye-opening for me. And I will always, it's in my heart, remember the discussions around the talk. And that resonated, I mean, on so many levels. And I have since had the conversations with my white privileged friends, and we've had conversations around what does that mean. We've also had conversations in my diverse group of colleagues, acquaintances, friends, about the idea that we have the different talks. And I just love the idea that the male conversation led the way, and for a reason. I think Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Mothers Against, all of the different things with what's going on with, I'm just being authentic here. I'm thinking about gun control, and I'm thinking about all
Sure.
the things that we as women, today is, women's rights are human rights, and the whole celebration that we need to be there. So women are there, they're on the forefront. The idea of African-American men making a stand and talking about the message that they gave to their sons resonated. It was another powerful moment for me in my life. So I just want you to know, thank you for bringing that conversation, and the conversations that you're doing are continuing. And so you and I talked about the fact that it was such a dark period. This year's been a dark period, I'll tell you. But there's been also so much light, so much hope that's come out of it. And maybe it's because we all became vulnerable at the same moment. I mean, everybody went back to basic needs for a period of time.
Right.
So how do you see that? You said the commitment to change, you came right out with it, you got involved. How do you see that transitioning now as we go forward?
Well, Susie, we share a gift of big thinking, and so I just think that because the credit unions are built on people helping people, and the credit union motto, it's so important. I think that credit unions can lead this nation in eradicating racism, and people like Renee really. Systemic racism has been here for over 400 years. How can that happen? Well, I can see that happening because I can see it. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't we be able to do that? If we can all get on the same page, not just about being in the same book, but on the same page, in the same paragraph, the same wording, understanding that all of us have something to offer, and there's enough for everyone. And I think that people are concerned that they're going to lose power. You're not going to lose power. You're going to gain so much. So as you know, I'm the possibility of people serving other people passionately. I'll say that again. I'm the possibility of people serving other people passionately. So that's what fuels me. And I believe that if we do that, we can change the planet. Well, it's no different in this case. As you said, as an ally, reminding of yourself that, you know what? Maybe I can do this differently. Oh, what research do I have to do? And we're so ingrained. So there's something that happened to me during this journey. I was really proud that I would announce that I'm the whitest Black woman you'll ever meet. I wear my pearls. I have a bob. Well, guess what? Now that I've been in this journey, I don't need to say that anymore. I'm actually okay with, you know what? If you like my hair, great. If you don't, that's okay. I don't need to be the whitest Black woman you'll ever meet. I just need to be the best authentic Black woman, or just woman, that I can be. And so that for me was like a huge aha moment. Like, well, if you're leading an organization talking about you want to be accepted for who you are, why would you say you're the whitest Black woman you'll ever meet?
I also think that is a powerful moment of self-awareness, all right? I think what happens to us over time, and this is very true of any of us, male, female, the whole idea that we are progressing, and we want to come out, we want to be able to express ourselves. The other thing that's happened this year is the LGBTQ movement, and the idea that I know I don't know, and I need to learn, and I'm okay with that. And I was talking to somebody actually yesterday about they're not ready to step into the DEI and step into the CU Pride world because they don't know enough. And I said, that's probably that same confidence that you're talking about. For me, it's like I'm going to step in and I'm going to probably screw it up, okay? But when I do that, I want everybody to understand it's done with love. It's done with the idea that I want to learn, I want to grow. And at every point in my life, that's going to happen. So out of February also came our CU Pride initiative. And the founders ran with that concept after our meetup. And that whole ideas into action, right? You took an idea, and you're right, you're a big thinker, but you took an idea and you executed, you put it in action. And that's probably the thing that I feel we relate at a very core level about, because we believe big, but we also know we have to do something.
Right.
Both of us are on the DEI collective, so that just happened for us, and you've been a founding member, and I think that we're going to have to expect that. So I want to say something that's I'll say it to the audience, and I'll say it to you, Renee, that your commitment to change is the model for us to pursue as an industry. I think on one of your webinars recently, the speakers talked about credit unions were born for these moments and they need to turn into movements. And I thought that's what you did with Commitment to Change, is you have spent 20 years investing your life in this, all right? And the moment came where the light shined and you were ready to step through the door. And I'll say that to everybody out there, that if you stand up for things on a regular basis, you're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to hit moments that dishearten you. And the world today, that happens every day. Something comes up, there's sadness, there's unfortunately mental illness, there's a lot going on. But I want us to know that we're in it together, and we love and we belong. So I was looking for Pushing for Progress, and I was thinking about something else that's happened for you this year, and you're now part of the Worldwide Foundation. And the idea of the Worldwide Foundation board and the diversity that will come with that, and the idea that we're World Council serving about 297 million people worldwide, but we know that that means that credit unions touch almost 1 billion people worldwide. So your movement that you have here is being watched around the world. I don't know if you realize that. I was on a presentation with my African colleagues about Global Women's Leadership Network and the he for she's that they're doing there. And it came up about the commitment to change. So what you're doing, other people are saying, what can we do to step our way through this process? So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's so many things to do. But the first thing is to be kind to one another. The second thing is to, especially if you're an ally, is not to be discouraged. We didn't get here overnight. So I have a deceased friend who used to always tell me, be gentle with yourself. And so while all of this can be devastating, there's small things that people can do. And I tell you to be intentional. Be very intentional about being kind. What ACUC has different on our website. Of course, there's information that you can use, a Commitment to Change page that gives resources. Local government is doing a DEI talks.com, and they're going to be executing other resources in the 8th cooperative principle on diversity. The DEI collective that we talked about, great information. There's a pledge there that your credit unions can sign up with, your organizations that can say, we support this. This is how we're going to do this. And I think that there's so many books. Amazon probably can't keep up with all the people who are trying to read, especially the allies, about how they can do things differently. And so I think that you reach out to your communities, you reach out to people, you get brave, you start being courageous and say, I can help change. We had our last Commitment to Change conversation for the year was with league presidents. When the league saw this, Caroline Willard and John Brastakis from Maryland DC Credit Union League and Cornerstone League, respectively, they got together and they convinced the other league presidents. They didn't even have to convince them. They made a suggestion that they do something for Commitment to Change. So not just joining ACUC, but making a commitment over 3 years. And you taught me that. Don't just ask for 1 year, ask for a multi-year commitment. And so, and that has happened. And they've offered a scholarship to help ACUC members gain certifications that are going to help move them forward in their careers. Again, trying to clean up that gap. So that's just phenomenal. we had 5 credit union leagues join us last year. Now we have 28.
Woo.
That's historical. That's just amazing. And so the call was with 5 different credit union league presidents, and they were so vulnerable and so just touching in their honest assessment of themselves, of their organization, of the times, of the credit unions. And I was so proud. And I knew that this would be the most important one we did. All of the calls were great. All of them are inclusive. All of them are spectacular. But this one sent a really, really strong message on a couple of levels. So the first level is there's no diversity in our credit union league presidents. It's just a fact. There's no shade on that. It's just a fact. But the credit union league presidents that I had on the call were so open and looking inward and how can they help? And so it doesn't really matter if there's no representation, if there's support, because there's some times where it's not going to be representation. I know that I was talking to one organization and they had a women's group, and then there were Black women who wanted to know whether or not they should include more of the Black women. And what I said was, you don't want to push anything on anybody. If this group has come together and they work well together, then that's great. So just have another group for this group. It's okay, because people are who they are, and affiliations are affiliations. If you have a group of CEOs, there's a group of CEOs. You have a group of practitioners, that's a group of practitioners. So I think we get hung up on some stuff. Not everything is going to look diverse. It can be diverse in a different way. And so I think that getting back to your question, what can people do? They can be intentional about being more thoughtful.
And I want to add, it's interesting because this gives us an opportunity to talk about diversity, right? Mm-hmm. Quite often, and especially this year, we've looked at diversity from the standpoint of race. Right. And we want that to obviously take very strong steps. Black Lives Matter, and we need to stay focused on that. We need to know to understand the house is on fire. And when we talk about Black Lives Matter, they also cross other sections of our diverse community. Right. And so you spoke about Black women. I've been on the journey, as you know, from a gender diversity perspective. And so I see the diversity in the leagues with our female representation. Now we want to say, okay, let's continue to have people of color. Let's continue to have people with other, sexual orientations. Let's do things that are intentional, as you just spoke about. And the other thing that I just want to add, because I think it's really critical, I've heard from friends and from colleagues that they're being asked to get involved when they haven't in the past because of their color or because of their diverse opinions. And I said, okay. And he says, well, I don't want to be the token. I don't want to be because of this, they're asking me. And I said, no. Raise your hand, step in, because we're given an opportunity to step in and bring our network with us. And there are times that feels like it's not because. I've heard my female CEOs at times tell me, well, it's the best person for the job. I can't just make it a woman. I said, of course not, but make sure there's a woman at the table. Make sure that when the doors open, that people are represented there and the best person gets selected, okay? And I think that's where we are right now. I think it's important that we understand that we need to have a diverse population represented that are ready to step through. So being mindful with the opportunities and understand that diversity is critical and it's systemic racism and the things that we need to work on. And you said something else that to me is very, very important. And that's that I stand up for issues, but I don't always speak up. Okay. I have stood up, but there are times that I'll step away rather than having that confrontation or having that conversation at that moment. So one of the things I'm being mindful of is when am I stepping away? All right. one of my ideas into action that I learned from you this year is you were very raw in how you communicated it with me. And then you also were very, I'm going to use the term politically correct, but what I mean by that is you wanted your message to resonate. And I watched that evolution, and you taught me, okay, that there are times that you have to really be raw. You know, I'll bring people together and I'll encourage our own. I said, I'll bring those subjects up, but I don't always confront them. And so my pledge to you, all right, is not only will we support, not only will we be part of scholarships, not only will we ensure that that we're part of bringing people to the table, and I'll continue to bring you and you bring me, and let's do that. But I'll also make the commitment to you that I will step in and I will speak up. All right.
Wow.
So I believe that's my journey this year, and you taught that to me.
Wow, thank you. I had a good close colleague, everybody who's listening will know this man, Pablo from Inclusive. He is just an extraordinary human being. And one day he says, Renee, I need you to be the angry Black woman. And I told him, I said, honey, I can't be the angry Black woman each call. There's sometimes when that's not what's called for. And I don't ever want to be perceived as the angry Black woman. I just want to be a factual woman. I want to be someone who can bring people together and to make it a safe space. If you ask the question, I can only give you my perspective. I can certainly tell you what happens with some of my membership, but at the end of the day, it's our personal experiences that shape who we are and what we allowed to come in. And so I would rather see, and thank you for that compliment, is to how can we make sure that everyone has their voice and can speak their authentic voice, what's true for them.
That authentic, I think that's exactly right. And there's times that makes us a little bit more angry. There's times that makes us realize, that we have to communicate effectively to get the message across. But I think more important, we have to keep our eye on the ball. What's the goal? What are we trying to achieve, right? And keep up, if we're true to ourselves with that, then we know how to navigate it, even if we can step in it at times. So I love you, my friend. Happy holidays. I'm so glad that the universe brought us together.
Me too.
This was like my joy to be able to have you be, with me to do a wrap up of the year. So thank you very much. And I look forward to shining the light in 2021. We got to keep this moving. So final ideas into action. Anything you want to just leave me with?
2021 is going to be a phenomenal year. I think that people will be rejuvenated. I think people we will find a way to unite this nation. And we will all work together so that everyone has equal access to having the life that they want. And I think that's all we can ask for. And just to care about our people, care about the people that you work with, care about the people that you interact with. Be mindful, wear your mask so that you're not spreading anything. But be grateful for whatever you have. Yes, some people have lost jobs and we've lost loved ones, but at the end of the day, we're still standing. And if you're still standing, then just be grateful for that.
Blessings. Go have a beautiful day. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.